Hello everybody. Today we have percent of change. So when we have percent change, it describes the change over time by either an increase or a decrease for a percentage. And it can be solved using a percent proportion in which the values are plugged into the formula below. So we have the percent over 100. The change is represented as the new take away the old, which is the difference between the new number and the old number. And then it's divided by the original. So the original can be said as the old number. It's the original number. Change can be represented by the difference between the new and original values. So let's take a look at the example we have down here. It says use your understanding of percent change to complete the table below. Round all your answers to the nearest tenths place. So right here in our chart, in this column, it says a gallon of milk costs $2.79 in the year 2000. In 2015, it costs $3.98. So my original cost of milk in the year 2000 was $2.79. It changed in 2015 to $3.98. So I'm going to take my new, which is the $3.98, it's the new value, take away the old value of $2.79 and find its change. And it changed $1.19. So I put my change right here on the top right of my percent proportion. So I'm going to be cross multiplying and dividing. And remember that the old amount or the original amount will be staying the same down here. Alright, so I'm going to be cross multiplying and dividing, which means I'm going to take $1.19 times 100, or it can go the other way, 100 times $1.19. So I'm going to do it that way, 100 times $1.19, and then divide it by the old, $2.79. And I'm going to get 42.65. So I automatically know that it's an increase just by looking at it because it went up from $2.79 to $3.98. That's an increase. All right. And my solution right down here is 42, and I put 0.7 because I was rounding to the tenths place, which is the first spot after the decimal. And since I'm rounding to that place, I look to the right of it. It is 5 or more, so the 6 becomes a 7. On the next column here, it says a frozen pizza costs $3 in 2000, and then in the year 2015, it costs $2.50. So I'm going to have a decrease here because it went from $3 to $2.50. My original value is $3, which is the old value of the frozen pizza. The new value is $2.50. So I'm going to take my new, take away the old, $2.50, take away $3, and I'm going to get a negative number, and this is 50 cents. So I got negative 50 cents, right? It's going to have gone down. The difference between $2.50 and $3 is 50 cents, or negative 50 cents. So I'm going to be cross multiplying and dividing, and I always like to start with the 100. I'm going to take 100, multiply it by negative 50 cents, and I'm going to get negative 50, and then divide that by 300. And I'm going to get this decimal right here, and it is a decrease. So I have 16%, right? And then I'm going to round that tenths place to 0.7. All right. So I wrote the absolute value down here. Remember, absolute value is the distance a number is from 0. And it's always written as a positive number because these percentages will be written as a positive number. And it ends up being decrease, right? Because it's going to end up representing that it's a negative. So the decrease tells me that I have a negative percentage. Okay? So in the column right here, it says a movie ticket cost $8.20 in the year 2000. and in 2015 it cost $10.65. So I automatically know that it increased because it went from $8.20 to $10.65. Now your job is going to be to fill in the rest of these, right? So you're going to be filling these in on Kami. So I'm just going to write Kami right here. All right, so all of these will be written on your packet or on your digital worksheet. On the opposite page, when you flip it over, all right, we're not going to be playing tic-tac-toe. We don't have partners, right? But we are not going to forget to carefully set up our percent proportion. So over here, I wrote the percent proportion in another way, right? Because I always like to represent the change part as the new, take away the old, and the original part represented as the old. So anything highlighted in blue down here is going to be representing the new amount, and anything highlighted in yellow is going to be representing the old amount. So it says a sweater is marked down from $25 to $19. What is the percent change? So I went from a larger number to a smaller number, so I have a decrease. I'm going to take the new amount, take away the old amount, and I'm going to get -6. So I have a change of -$6, and then I'm going to be cross multiplying and dividing. So I have -6, right, times 100 divided by 25, and that gave me -24. But of course, I'm going to be representing the negative with the word decrease, so it's just a 24% decrease. And I wrote a little note here, write your answers as positive numbers. So, on the next example here, it says a club fundraiser. A group of students washed 40 cars one weekend, and the next weekend they washed 70 cars. What was the percent increase in the number of cars washed? Well, the new amount was 70. So to find the change, I need to subtract the new from the old, and the difference was 30 cars washed. So I have my percentage represented over here, my percent proportion, my change divided by the old amount. So I can take 100, multiply it by 30, and then divide it by 40. And I'm going to get a 75% increase because it went up from 40 cars to 70 cars. So on this next example, you're going to write your answer in and make sure to show your work, very similar to this. So it says Dustin bought a DVD player that was marked down from $150 to $100. Find the percent of decrease. All right, on the problem over here, it says a pair of socks is purchased at wholesale for $2. It is then sold for $4 to the customer. What is the percent increase? On the next problem, it says Mary decreased her time for the mile walk from 30 minutes to 24 minutes. What was the percent decrease? And over here was kind of a different kind of problem, but I'm going to go ahead and try to explain this one. It says the 7th grade class experienced a 15% decrease in enrollment. Last year, the 7th grade class had 280 students. How many students are enrolled in the 7th grade this year? So it's important to recognize that 100% of the students is the last year's amount. So 280 is the whole amount, which is the whole is 100% of students last year. Okay, now I do know it decreased by 15%. So our percent proportion would tell us that we have our percent, 15% over 100, and that the whole amount was 280. Well, let's find out how I got 238. So when I cross multiply 15 times 280, I get this big number right here, and then divide that by 100, and I get 42. But the answer isn't 42, right? 42 students, right, are the ones that did not return. So I had 280 students, 42 students did not return, so that means the 15% decrease was 238. Not my favorite way to do the problem, because we have to recognize that 42 students didn't return from the whole amount last year, right? So I'm missing 42 students. So we only want to know how many students are going to attend on the following year. So how many students are going to attend school next year? Well, since I had a 15% decrease from the 280, I'm going to have 238 students return, which is actually 85% of my students. And here's why. Because 100% was 280 students, that was the whole amount from last year, I can represent my percentage as the percent that is returning. So 15% is the amount of 7th graders that will not be there, all right? But 85% of the 280 students will be there. So you can always take 100, take away the percent decrease to give you the actual percentage that will be attending. We have 85% of the students from last year coming back, right? So when I do it this way, I can kind of eliminate that. But again, the change is represented this way down here versus represented this way up here. This part would be representing the change in percentage of students coming back, where this one is representing the change in students, which was negative 42, taken away from the whole amount. So the amount of students would be 238. A little bit of a different problem. Again, very similar down here. It says enrollment in the PTA increased by 35% this year. Last year, there were 160 members in the PTA. How many PTA members are involved this year? So we are increasing the amount of PTA members. So the whole amount of PTA members last year was 160, and it's gone up a percentage. So the whole amount of PTA members was 160, and it is going to be going up 35%. So it's going up, so I had a positive here, whereas opposed to the one above it here, I have a negative because it was a decrease. This time it is an increase, so I have a positive amount, right? This is a good thing for the PTA. So I can cross multiply 35 times 160 divided by 100. And which means that I'm going to have an increase of 56 PTA members, right? So I originally had 160. It's being increased by 56 people, which means that next year I'm going to end up having 216 PTA members. Okay? Now, on the other side of things, right, I had 100% from last year, which was 160, but I've increased that percentage. So actually, my percentage is going to end up being 135%. And you can have more, right? You can say something is increased in percentage. So in this case, the percent increase was 135%, right? Because now I have 35% more than last year. So I have 35% more than the whole amount, 100%, and the whole amount being 160. So again, I can take 135%, which is the actual amount that we're going to have involved this year. We have 135% increase from last year. Times it by the 160, and then divide it by 100. So there's my 216. So either way, we get both numbers. with this way, we're representing the percentage as the new percentage, right? So I have 135%, right, being represented here, but over here I have the increase represented by 56 new PTA members. On the next box right here, it says to visit the top of the Empire State Building, a ticket costs $4 in 1999, and in 2009 the price rose to $20. What is the percent change? And when it says rose, that is going to be an increase, right? Because it's gone up from $4 to $20. And then it says Tom's weekly salary increased from $240 to $288. What was the percent of change? All right, if you're going to write anything down here for the summary of today's lessons, I would definitely write the two different formulas up here for the summary. All right, everybody have a great day and stay safe.